and who's out of the knockout round at the 2023 World Cup. The group stage of the 2023 World Cup is at its midway point, with the majority of teams already 2 games in. While there's plenty of soccer to be played in Australia and New Zealand, the knockout round picture becomes clearer with each match. The United States will hope it doesn't pay the price for an awful first half against the Netherlands in what was a rematch of the 2019 World Cup finale. The 2-time defending champions must not lose to Portugal in their last group stage game, or they face the embarrassment of going home after the group stage for the first time ever at the World Cup or Olympics. Here's a look at how each of the 32 teams stand in terms of reaching the round of 16. Group A: Switzerland 4 points, 2-0 win over Philippines, 0-0 tie versus Norway versus New Zealand on Sunday. A win or tie against tournament host New Zealand puts the Swiss into the knockout stage. There are numerous scenarios, too, in which even a defeat, coupled with a Norway win or tie to the Philippines, could push the Swiss through. Switzerland would prefer not concerning itself with that. However, New Zealand 3 points, 1-0 win over Norway, 1-0 loss to Philippines, versus Switzerland on Sunday, a rollercoaster World Cup, the highs of a first-ever World Cup win followed by the lows of a stunning loss, has New Zealand in a win-or-else situation against group leaders Switzerland. Philippines 3 points, 2-0 loss to Switzerland, 1-0 win over New Zealand, versus Norway on Sunday. The Philippines could make its World Cup debut a memorable one by pulling off yet another shocking upset. Norway 1 point, 1-0 loss to New Zealand, 0-0 tie versus Switzerland, versus Philippines on Sunday. Norway, the 1995 World Cup winners, have only missed the knockout stage once ever 2011 but are in jeopardy of doing so here. It needs a win and help from Switzerland to join the round of 16. Group B: Nigeria 4 points, 0-0 tie versus Canada, 3-2 win over Australia, versus Ireland on Monday. The Super Falcons are in prime position to advance, even with a loss so long as Canada doesn't also lose. Canada 3 points, 0-0 tie versus Nigeria, 2-1 win over Ireland, versus Australia on Monday. The Olympic gold medalists in Tokyo need to avoid a loss to host Australia, or they likely face a group stage exit for the first time since the 2011 World Cup. Australia 3 points, 1-0 win over Ireland, 3-2 loss to Nigeria, versus Canada on Monday. The loss to Nigeria really puts the pressure on Australia, a pre-tournament dark horse contender, to defeat Canada to advance. Ireland 0 points, 1-0 loss to Australia, 2-1 loss to Canada, versus Nigeria on Monday. Ireland's first World Cup appearance will end with a group stage exit. Group C: Spain 6 points, 3-0 win over Costa Rica, 5-0 win over Zambia, versus Japan on Monday. Spain's spot in the round of 16 has been clinched with it absolutely steamrolling its competition so far. It'll get tested in the final group stage game against Japan. Japan's 6 points, 5-0 win over Zambia, 2-0 win over Costa Rica, versus Spain on Monday. First place in the group will be on the line when Japan, which also has punched its round of 16 ticket, plays Spain. The early World Cup juggernaut. Costa Rica 0 points, 3-0 loss to Spain, 2-0 loss to Japan, versus Zambia on Monday. The defeat against Japan on Tuesday eliminated Los Ticos from advancing to the knockout stage. Zambia 0 points, 5-0 loss to Japan, 5-0 loss to Spain, versus Costa Rica on Monday. One of 8 World Cup first-timers, Zambia will be playing for pride in its group stage finale. Group D: England 6 points, 1-0 win over Haiti, 1-0 win over Denmark, versus China on Tuesday. The reigning European champions will be among the favorites once the knockout stage commences. Denmark 3 points, 1-0 win over China, 1-0 loss to England, versus Haiti on Tuesday. Denmark is seeking its first foray into the knockout stage since the 1995 World Cup. China 3 points, 1-0 loss to Denmark, 1-0 win over Haiti, versus England on Tuesday. China kept its chances alive to reach the knockout stage for the third consecutive World Cup. Haiti 0 points, 1-0 loss to England. 1-0 loss to China versus Denmark on Tuesday. Haiti is all but eliminated from the knockout rounds in its World Cup debut. Group E, United States 4 points, 3-0 win over Vietnam. 1-1 tie versus Netherlands versus Portugal on Tuesday. The USWNT is in a good position to advance to the round of 16. However, the draw to the Netherlands puts pressure on the two-time defending World Cup champions to get a result in the group stage finale against Portugal. A loss eliminates the USWNT from the World Cup. A second-place finish in the group could mean a quarter-final showdown against a Spain team that has outscored opponents 8-0 through 2 games. Netherlands 4 points, 1-0 win over Portugal, 1-1 tie versus United States versus Vietnam on Tuesday. A tie against the USWNT in a rematch of the 2019 World Cup final has the Dutch in position to win the group if Portugal can pull off a stunning upset. Portugal 3 points, 1-0 loss to Netherlands, 2-0 win over Vietnam versus United States on Tuesday. Portugal faces a win-and-in scenario against the USWNT. A tie, coupled with a huge Vietnam upset of the Netherlands, also could put Portugal into the round of 16 in its first World Cup. Vietnam 0 points, 3-0 loss to United States, 2-0 loss to Portugal versus Netherlands on Tuesday. Vietnam, another World Cup newcomer, is eliminated, but could do the USWNT a favor by at least keeping the scoreline close against the Netherlands. Group F, Brazil 3 points, 4-0 win over Panama versus France on Saturday, versus Jamaica on Wednesday. Saturday's showdown with France likely will decide the group winner. France 1.0-0 tie versus Jamaica versus Brazil on Saturday. Versus Panama on Wednesday. A squad mired in off-field turbulence got off to a less-than-ideal start to this World Cup. France has reached the quarterfinals of the last 2 World Cups. Jamaica 1.0-0 tie versus France, versus Panama on Saturday, versus Brazil on Wednesday. The Reggae Girls could go into Wednesday with a chance to advance out of the group stage for the first time. Panama 0 points, 4-0 loss to Brazil, versus Jamaica on Saturday, versus France on Wednesday. A 4-0 loss puts Panama in a precarious situation in its first ever World Cup. Group G. Sweden 3 points, 2-1 win over South Africa, versus Italy on Saturday, versus Argentina on Wednesday. A win Saturday against Italy should be enough to push Sweden, third-place finishers at the 2019 World Cup, through to the round of 16. Italy 3 points, 1-0 win over Argentina, versus Sweden on Saturday, versus South Africa on Wednesday. Italy's World Cup fate likely will be decided in Saturday's game against Sweden. Argentina 1 point, 1-0 loss to Italy, 2-2 tie versus South Africa, versus Sweden on Wednesday. Fought valiantly to salvage a draw against South Africa, but is still seeking its first ever World Cup win. South Africa 1 point, 2-1 loss to Sweden, 2-2 tie versus Argentina, versus Italy on Wednesday. Blowing a 2-0 lead against Argentina really hurts South Africa's chances of advancing. Group H, Germany 3 points, 6-0 win over Morocco, versus Colombia on Sunday, versus South Korea on Thursday. Germany has reached at least the quarterfinals in every World Cup it's played in. And an impressive opener puts the DFB Frauenteam in good position to advance to the knockout stage for the 9th consecutive time. Colombia 3 points, 2-0 win over South Korea. Versus Germany on Sunday, versus Morocco on Thursday. Defeating South Korea in its opener has Colombia in position to reach the round of 16 for just the second time in its history. South Korea 0 points, 2-0 loss to Colombia, versus Morocco on Saturday, versus Germany on Thursday. South Korea has just one round of 16 appearance on its ledger, and the loss to Colombia means it's unlikely to happen in Australia. Morocco 0 points, 6-0 loss to Germany, versus South Korean on Saturday, versus Colombia on Thursday. Goal differential really puts Morocco in a tough position to advance. Thanks for your watching. Don't forget to click the subscribed button and hit the bell icon for more.